Hi everyone, I'm Rachel Tessman from stampyourartout.com, and today is a recorded video. I'm coming to you recorded on March 9th, 2022 because I cannot go live today. But I wanted to share with you two cards that I made using the Home and Garden bundle. So the Home and Garden stamp set and the garden dies. You can see these six dies here. They coordinate with these 6 images. So they are called framelets because you can stamp and then cut them out. And then you've got these more detailed dies down here. You've got a wooden board, you've got some hooks, you've got some pieces that connect with these up here to make kind of a metallic like shovel, spade, and shears. And then you've got grass and pebbles. So let me show you. So for example, you can stamp and then cut out your gloves. You can stamp and cut out your shovel, and then this piece here is from that. And then of course the shears, they're so cute when they've got the metallic parts on them. And here is the little board with the hooks on it. Here's the adorable little pieces of grass. So lots of fun details with this bundle. Right now, during the month of March, you can get in on some savings on a few different bundles. There are 13 bundles in total that are 20% off instead of 10% off. Actually, 3 of these bundles are no longer bundles, so they are 0% off normally, but now 20% off. So you'll want to check those out. You can visit my blog at stampyourartout.com and then scroll down to the promotions area and see how to download this PDF so you can check those out. Or you can visit my store and you can click in the specials and promotions section to see the savings going on. Now, this particular bundle that I'm sharing with you today is not one of the ones that's on special, but I had to share it with you because the cards are so darn adorable. This bundle can be found on page 72 of the January through June mini catalog. Of course, you can also look for it in the online store. But again, the Home and Garden, you can see some fun samples here. It's a great bundle to get for dad cards, but you can also create lots of cards for any gardener out there. If you eliminate this and this, it can be for females too. Oh, that one too. Who knows? Anyways, you've got some great imagery for anyone who loves to garden. By the way, this video is linked to my blog post, so you can visit my blog post, my March 9th blog post, and you can see photos of the finished cards. You can see this video, which is linked there. You can see supplies, measurements, and all that stuff. But for now, let me just walk you through the fun. These are the pieces that you're going to need for the first card. The first card is a top flap fold type of card. You're going to need your early espresso cardstock pieces cut and scored as shown in the measurement list. There are 3 of those pieces. You've got this 3x3 square, you've got the 4 1/4 by 5.5 inch piece, and then you've got this strip here, which is the top flap, and it measures 2 1/4 inches by 6 inches, or actually, you know what, on this one, it's just under 6 inches. So keep that in mind, that it's just under the 6-inch mark. Then you've got some of this craft specialty paper that measures 5 1/8 inch by 2 inches. You've got a couple of squares that are basic white. One of them is slightly larger than the other. This one's 3x3. This one is 2 7/8 by 2 7/8. You've also got another white, and this one is 4 inches by 5 1/4, and the designer paper is just under that, so it's 3 7/8 by 5 1/8. You've also got some scraps. You've got your soft suede, your garden green, and you've got your silver. So the silver foil paper can be found in the blues foils collection, which has 2 different blues and a silver, or it can be found in the silver specialty collection, which actually has 2 purplish tones and a silver. And then the designer paper that I'm using comes from the Heart and Home collection of designer papers. This is what it looks like on one side. Lots of different earthy designs and colors that are warm. And then on the other side, you have this white, worn wooden look. Kind of fun. I've brought my Stampin' Cut and Emboss machine out, and we're going to die cut first. So we're going to die cut the little spade portion, the handle for the spade in the soft suede, and then with the garden green we're going to do a couple pieces of the grass. Just going to lay those cutting side down. We'll put our mat on top and hold them steady in place and crank it on through. And as you can see, our dies produced all of these great little pieces. So we're just going to move those aside. And we're going to go ahead and start with our stamping. We're using Early Espresso ink for the sentiments. And for the largest of the two white squares, we're going to stamp the inside piece that says, "Thanks for helping me grow." You'll just center that. And on this piece here, we're going to stamp Happy Father's Day. And we're going to stamp that slightly below center. And then we can stamp the word Dad right underneath that. We're going to bring in our multi-purpose liquid glue, and we're going to start attaching these pieces. So we're going to grab the spade metallic part and put it right on top. Oh my gosh, this is so cute. I feel like I'm back in the day of playing with my Barbie dolls. Little miniatures. Next, we're going to use these Pebbles enamel shapes, and we're going to add a few of the brown ones to the card. And then we can start assembling all of our pieces. So we're going to start with adding the designer paper first. This is our seal adhesive. We'll add that to our white layer. Then we're going to add this inside piece and we're going to center it. Next we're going to add this piece, and this piece is going to wrap over the top, and it's going to come to this edge about 1/4 of an inch in on the designer paper. And that slight little difference in the measurement didn't make it go too far, and it didn't make it go too short. Now we can add this whole piece to the Early Espresso base. Next, the craft cardstock goes on. Then this piece. And you're only going to add adhesive to the left side, and that's going to come down and cover up the white. In fact, you can cover up the white, which is the exact same size as this brown, and you can shift it over just a tad so that you see 1/4 of an inch here, just like you see over here, and then it's also creating 1/4 of an inch there. So it makes it look very balanced. Last goes this piece right on the top. And this card all fits into our medium size envelope. Got another card for you. Isn't that cute? The second card is a tucked Z-fold card, and it's got quite a few more steps in it, but it's also very doable. So we're going to use for our card base some basic black cardstock. This piece is 5.5 by 8.5, scored halfway at 4 1/4 inches for the card base. Then we have a scrap of black. We have a scrap of the silver foil. We have a scrap of the Just Jade, and this piece, you want to have it at least 2 3/4 by 2 3/4. Then there's a couple strips that are 1/2 of an inch tall, and I have them a little bit longer than they need to be. They're slightly over the 4 1/4 inch mark. This layer here is 4 inches by 5 1/4 inches, and this comes from that same pack, the Heart and Home paper. And then we have some basic white, and I'm not using the thick, I'm using the regular basic white. This piece measures 8 inches by 5 1/4, and it's scored halfway at the 4 inch mark, and one of the sides is scored also halfway 2 inches in, so you want to score it from this side at 4 and 6 or from this side at 2 and 4, if that makes sense. Then the last piece is just a long scrap of white, or a scrap of white in some way. I'm using a long scrap because we are going to be stamping a spade and a rake onto those pieces and coloring them with blends markers. So we'll just ink up our stamp We'll stamp one down here, and then we'll stamp the other one going in the opposite direction just to fill up that space. After we've colored them, we can die cut them, but let's set those aside for just a minute. While we're stamping, let's go ahead and stamp our sentiments too. We're going to be making a birthday card. So we want to stamp this sentiment right smack dab in the middle, birthday wishes, and then we'll also stamp this one, to the man who can do anything, and we'll stamp that right in the middle. The next step is to add the designer paper to the front of the card, but we're not going to put adhesive all the way onto the card. We're just going to put it in the four corners. That way, when we die cut in the center, which we need to do, these two papers will not be attached to each other, these two layers. We're going to bring in our layering circle dies. This is what they look like, and we're going to use the smooth ones, the second to the largest and the third to the largest. So if you layer them really close together, you can see it's the second and the third. And the second to the largest one is going to be die cut, is going to die cut into this this front of our card right here. I'm just going to put a sticky note there to help hold it in place so it's centered. Looks pretty good there. And then this piece is going to, or this die is going to die cut our Just Jade piece. I'm using Post-it notes to hold everything down, especially the framelit pieces. I don't want those to move. And now you can see that the two papers in the front of the card were not connected to each other, so I have two separate circles plus the jade circle. We're going to bring in the Timber 3D embossing folder now, which has this fun wood grain to it, and we're going to add our Just Jade circle in there. We're putting our sandwich together a little bit differently. This time we're getting rid of the die adapter number 2, and we're just going to use the platform number 1 and the number 4 plate, so that we can have a little bit more room for the thickness of our 3D embossing folder to come through. And now we have this fun texture that is on the front of our piece. Actually, either side we could use. I'm going to show you a fun technique now. This is embossing paste, and we're going to open that up. Make sure, by the way, that when you have embossing paste, you keep it tightly sealed. You don't want this stuff to dry out, and any amount of air in there can dry it out. So we're going to take just a little bit, like seriously, just like a pea-size amount, maybe even less than what I have, and we're just going to try to push it into the crevices of that embossed piece. See, I still have lots on my palette knife. And we're just going to bring that right across there and really make that embossing stand out visually. You want to scrape off any excess. And then we're just going to set this aside to dry. Take the rest of it, scrape it back into the container, seal it back up tight. Then you'll want to, of course, go and clean off your palette knife really good. I like to wipe it first, and then I like to wash it with soap and water. Bringing back the trimmer for just a short time here. Half of 4 inches is 2. So what we want to do is we want to look at this sentiment and balance it out so it's balanced on that 2-inch mark. We're going to trim off a little bit on this side, it looks like, and a little bit on this side. See, mine wasn't completely centered because my two pieces aren't even. But now we have a little sentiment strip that's going to reach from side to side on our designer paper. So that is ready to go. I always do it just a little bit longer, and that way, in case I make a mistake, I can adjust it according to the size. You know, I can move it to the right or move it to the left or whatever. So now this is going to be added to our designer paper front of our card, right about here. This piece is going to be added to our wood grain paper so that it's looking centered. And the lines of the wood grain kind of help out here with making sure that it is looking straight as it goes across, right? And then you're going to take your snips, your paper, your scissors, and you're just going to trim off any excess. That's ready. And now we're going to take and add this piece to the black. And I love how this piece has a little area for a screw, right? So we're going to pretend like our black circular brads are the things that we need in here for this. Let's grab a small circle and our piercing tool, and we're just going to poke a hole right through here. And you want to be gentle when you do it. Once that's in there, then you can put the brad in, open up the prongs in the back, and you can adjust them so that they hide behind the shears. We're just going to move this out of the way for a minute. We'll bring in a clear block, and we can flatten it down, and again, adjust the prongs if we need to. There we go. So there's our more realistic looking shears. All right, next let's take and add our white cardstock to the inside. Now I've already folded on the score lines. You want to fold like a Z fold. And this is going to be added to the inside of our card like this, so it comes out this way. Again, it's a tucked Z fold card. I have a lot of details in this card, in the coloring, in the embossing paste, in the little shears. You don't need to make a tucked Z-fold card so elaborate with all the different pieces and elements. The actual mechanism is pretty easy, as you can see. Okay, this piece is going to go right on the inside here, and what I'm going to do is just put adhesive on the back side. I'm going to keep this part open. I'm going to close this, and I'm just going to add it right into that hole so that our sentiment strip across the middle is going parallel with this piece here. And now we open it up, and that will get hidden when the card is closed because the black piece that's also the same size is going to fill in that hole. You'll see that we are only going to put adhesive on this portion though. We're going to apply it right directly to the white cardstock here. Keeping our card closed again, we're going to slip that black circle right into that hole. Now we'll poke it in. We'll open this up, and you can see how it works now. Pretty cool. Okay, the next piece that we're going to add into the card is the rake. We've also added the shovel and now the shears. And the last embellishment is to add these fun gray pebble enamel shapes. And that is our finished card. Very fun. Love all the surprises that appear inside when you open that one. This one also does fit in our medium A2 size envelopes. I hope you enjoyed these two fun fold card ideas I had for you today using the Home and Garden bundle. I'll be live again the next week. That would be the 16th. So hope to see you back then. In the meantime, have fun creating and remember to stamp your art out. Bye-bye.